And good morning, everyone. 8:07 a.m. here. 60 degrees in the Hub City this morning. And as promised, we have in the studio President of Texas Tech University, Dr. Lawrence Schovanec. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, Dave. Good morning. Matt, good to see you again.
Good morning.
Matt and I were just talking briefly. When was the last time I was here? And I think we're all agreed not much has happened since the last time.
It's been a snoozer.
Well, I'll tell you a good way to start it out this morning. We have a text message that says, want to let the Tech president to know. I like to say, I would like to let the Tech president know that while many of us are upset at the ouster of Duncan, the frustration is focused on 5 regents and not the university's administrators, faculty, and staff. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate that very much.
That's from an anonymous texter this morning.
Please know how much I do appreciate that. When I was at Houston down for the game, I was walking over to our seats, and an alum came up to me and said, "I'm really sorry to see that you're stepping down. I thought you were doing a good job." And I said, "Well, let me check my email." But I think I still am in this job. So you never know.
That must have been kind of shocking for a moment.
I think he had confused me with the chancellor.
I think he must have, yeah.
Or maybe he heard otherwise.
Well, of course, the big story, and this is the story that we just covered a while ago, is a story in the AJ this morning about the donor, Amarillo former Mayor Jerry Hodge, and a $10 million donation to Texas Tech that he's a little upset about.
That's right. You know, Dave, that story and the one below it regarding the $2.5 million gift from Cavanaugh's Meat Packers kind of captures, I think, the sentiment around this whole issue. We continue to raise money for the vet school. That's the third time we've been up to Amarillo to acknowledge a significant gift in the last 2 months. We feel very good about where we are with the vet school. We've had discussions with our West Texas delegation. They are very, very supportive. Senator Perry, Representative Fulo, Dustin Burrows, Forprice, John Smithy. Our goal in front of us right now, and this is something Ted has reiterated time and again, we keep our focus on our main priorities. That's to be prepared for that session, with the priorities of securing support for the vet school, the dental school, and the mental health initiative. And we loved Bob Duncan, but we also appreciate our board. And there are two sides to this, but those issues don't really affect us. We have to be focused on the legislative session. So progress continues towards the vet school. At the same time, you have an incident with Mr. Hodge. And Ted and I met with Mr. Hodge yesterday. And he is upset, and rightfully so, as to how he feels the gift agreement, the $10 million gift agreement, was in a way disclosed and released to people that he didn't think should have access to it. And that came out in a story in the Texas Tribune. But I think even if you read that story this morning, you'll see he is still supportive of the vet school, very supportive. And he said, "I'm just not prepared to give that gift at this time." And so that reflects some of his frustration, and with some members of the board, who I think actually have been unfairly characterized in some of this conversation. And I'm not just saying that because we report up to them, but we're going to stay out of that. Ted is going to do a fabulous job as interim chancellor. He's a great leader. The presidents are focused on the things that we can affect, and that's being as effective as we can in this legislative session.
Well, one of the things that came in reading this story is if someone comes to Texas Tech and say, "I want to donate $10 million to the football program at Texas Tech," wouldn't it be really, wouldn't Texas Tech set aside that money strictly for the football program? And in this case, wouldn't they have set aside the money for the vet school, which is what he designated it for?
Well, but there were some of that support was to go to the pharmacy school. He has a history of supporting Tech's presence in Amarillo through HSC, and I wasn't part of the structure of that gift. Chancellor Duncan worked on that with others. And so it was those sort of issues that he felt didn't need to be shared as this thing still was moving forward, and the fact that he was approached by a reporter who had all this knowledge, and that was the story written in the Tribune. But when a donor gives us money, we use that money as they dictate. It only makes sense.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
Yeah. So you also said that the tech, moving forward, you've got the dental school. What exactly are y'all preparing as far as the legislator coming up? Are y'all working with Dustin Burrows and
we had
John
lunch
Frullo
just last week
and
with Senator Perry, John Frullo, Dustin Burrows. When we were at an event in Amarillo we had our board meeting, our foundation board meeting there 2 or 3 weeks ago. We visited with For Price and Representative Smithy. And so they are solidly behind the vet school. And I think that since Chancellor Duncan's retirement, you'll find that there's been a kind of a galvanization of support for the vet school. And we need to stay out of the politics of that. Unfortunately, that's part of life. Mm-hmm. This is a matter of what's best for West Texas and Texas. When we announced a Happy State Bank gift a few weeks ago, Pat made the comment that this is not about politics. This is about what we need. And Terry Cavanis made a great comment yesterday when he spoke on behalf of the Cavanis family. He went to Tech many, many years ago. I think he was there in the 60s. And he said, I went through an orientation at Texas Tech. And when it was over, the professor said, now find a need and fill it. And that's guided his life. And he said, that's where we are today, and that's where our family is committed to the vet school.
So as far as Texas A&M is concerned, do you still feel like the legislator, you're going to have some problems with the Texas A&M side?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be naive to say otherwise. And I'm not saying it's, again, I think we all have strong opinions about what's going on there. And I think it's very unfortunate because, West Texas A&M could be a great partner with us up there. We could work together. It would be a pathway for their students to get into the vet school just up the road in Amarillo. And so there's no doubt that that's complicated, this issue, and to pretend it's not there would be disingenuous.
So is this more of a school issue than a fiscal issue? In other words, when you look at the Texas legislator, is it more of, hey, I went to Texas A&M, I'm going to back them, versus we just don't have the money to make it happen?
No, Matt, I think if the legislators want to make sure that this is a good and efficient use of taxpayer dollars. Mm-hmm. And so we have to make the case to them that we, in spite of the fact that we have one of the best veterinary schools in the world here in Texas, and that's Texas A&M, there's a need that's not being met. And that's part of the message we've been conveying to people as we've met with them. 10 years ago or so, 80% of the licensed vets were getting that license. We're getting that degree from A&M. Today, that's dropped to about 20%. Those licensed in Texas. And that's the kind of information we're sharing.
Well, a texter this morning is basically wanting to know, are we still on progress or on track for the vet school?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's take a quick break here at 8:16 a.m. and be back with more of Dr. Lawrence Schovanec, president of Texas Tech University, after this. News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO Mornings, Dave King, Matt Martin here at 8:20 a.m. Dr. Lawrence Schovanec in our studio this morning talking about everything going on at Texas Tech University. Enrollment. How's enrollment? Are those numbers out yet?
So today will be the 12th day, which determines what we typically release, that enrollment, and that will be, I hope that's in the paper tomorrow, because we will announce another record enrollment. I think we'll come in around 38,200 to 38,300, a little over a 3% increase. We'll have around 6,000 freshmen. Yet, even with that large class, The SAT average is going to be up. We're going to have 26 national merit finalists. A year ago we had 16. 5 years ago we had 4. So we continue to attract really good students, record number of presidential scholars. But one thing that's really contributed to our increase in enrollment is our retention rate. It's going to be over 85% this year. That's going to be a record for Tech. And that's the thing we have to really work on. In the last 2 years, we're going to have a record for first, second, and third-year retention. We haven't been moving our 6-year graduation rate, so I'm hopeful as that this class has progressed through the ranks, because that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
So that's very good news.
Well, 38,000, man, you're well on track for that 40,000
Well,
goal.
I ran into Chancellor Emeritus Hance, and he asked about, are you going to make that 40,000? And he said, if you don't, I'm going to set myself on fire in Memorial Circle. So I told him the other day when I ran into him, we're selling tickets already, and we're going to come in at 39,990. But he said, if we're that close, you're burning too.
Now, just I know this is kind of going back to the other topic, but Kent Hance, he's working pretty hard on the vet school as well.
Kent is one of the great ambassadors for Texas Tech, and I think his support through the session would also be very, very helpful. Mm-hmm. No doubt about that.
Hey, and so the athletic program, y'all said that y'all's football program got ranked 25th.
Forbes
now, this is value, right?
This is, value. That's pretty insignificant. They published the top 25 programs in terms of the value of the programs, and Texas Tech came in at 25, one of 3 Big 12 schools, obviously Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas Tech. Yeah. That's based on profit. So that's... that's a statement about a couple things. Our fans, the best in the world. We've had some frustrating years, but they continue to support us. It's also a statement about Kirby Hocutt and the way he manages athletics. He is a consummate professional. He's so skilled and talented, and all of the people around him. So we're in, last year was one of the best years athletically we ever had. There's this thing
Financially?
No, in terms of success.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about...
yeah, I'm thinking football, but everything. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was. And again, that's, you've heard Kirby speak at that, like the football kickoff and things like that. So we have a big game coming up. Beating Houston would be very significant, giving us some momentum going against Oklahoma State, going back to Stillwater. I think we've lost to them 9 years in a row or something.
Yeah, I think they said, what was it? Cliff Kingsbury was the quarterback the last time we beat them in Stillwater.
Well, I don't know if you remember Casey Stengel when he was managing the New York Mets, and they set a record for losses, and they finally won a game, and he said, you can't lose them all. So someday we're going to beat OSU.
As far as the Houston thing, I do have a question. There's a little bit of controversy, I guess, with Houston not being willing to allow Tech to wear white on the Cotton Day. Matt, is that something that's normal for a university to do that?
And Matt, I have definite thoughts about that, but let's keep this professional.
Okay. All right.
There was kind of a neat story at the game. Fearless Champion came up lame, and there was a young lady, Sydney, who comes from a long family of Aggies who broke the mold and came to Texas Tech. She enrolled, and she spoke at the Cavanis event yesterday, did a fabulous job. When we did not have a horse, her family provided that horse called Cody that ran onto the field and led the team on the field. And so think about that. There was an Aggie horse leading our football team onto the field. And I was in Austin last Sunday speaking to a group of students, a top scholar event that we always have. And the dean of the Honors College came after me, Michael San Francisco, who's a great gentleman person. And he said, I thought that horse seemed slower.
Oh, geez. Well, the legislative session, are you all ready for that?
There's lots of planning going on.
You think there'll be any big news out of that?
Well, let's see what we can say next May, June, because it's going to be so important for us to secure the special item funding for the dental school, and for the vet school. And there's a few other items. So that's one thing Chancellor Mitchell has emphasized over and over. We're going to stay out of these other issues, the presidents and all the people at Tech. We need to be solely focused on those priorities of securing the special item funding we need for the vet school and the dental school. And that's where attention is. We're going to be in Austin much more than we have in the past. We're already mapping out a strategy, and we'll be down there a lot. So I plan to, we're going to be very engaged in interacting with our members.
Well, any big news? We have about a minute left. Any big news you can? Make some news here.
What we don't need right now is news. I will say this: if you drive around town, try to get across campus. It's crowded, and I think we can be very pleased that and Tech it has such a strong brand that we continue to grow. And that is not the national trend. We're already getting feedback from other schools, like in the Big 12. Kansas State is down, Kansas is down, Iowa State is down. Now, it's not about growing, but as long as we can grow and the student body is as qualified as ever, I mean, that's a real plus. That's good for us.
I've been here a very long time, and I've watched Texas Tech very closely, and I'm telling you, it is astounding. All the growth that we're seeing there, not only just in the enrollment, but I mean the growth in the campus and
buildings,
the
and
buildings
the new
and all
athletic
is just astounding.
And we have plans for more. We did open our campus in Costa Rica. Members for the staff were on campus last week. They came to the game, and so that's a significant accomplishment.
Dr. Schovanec, thank you so much for coming out. We've got to go. We got a hard break coming up. And, of course, we'll see you. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
That puts a bow on the show for a Wednesday edition. And we'll be expecting to be back in the morning about 6:20. And we're going to do this all over again. Chad is next.